FOMC preview. So it's FOMC tonight. Let's have a look at the possibilities going forwards. In fact, although I've got a live chart up here of the S&P, I'm recording this about 3 hours prior to FOMC, and we can see the S&P and the Nasdaq are rolling off a little bit here so far today. But I think that's just natural ebb and flow at the moment anyway. Within this, they've had these incredible runs, and they could end up having some pullbacks, some further pullbacks. We'll see if they move much around on the FOMC. What tends to move around quite a lot on FOMC, and don't get me wrong, the S&P will do, are those currencies. Now, traditionally they do, but I want to just give you a little bit of a snapshot as to what could happen, because tonight's FOMC is widely anticipated. So we're expecting 25 basis points hike. It's all about Powell's language, as always, that accompanies that hike tonight. So the hike itself is baked in. It's only if they went and hiked 50 basis points or didn't hike at all that would see some major moves in the currencies. We don't expect that. The FOMC committee don't really want to surprise us all too much, so that would be quite a surprise if that happened. So we're expecting 25 basis points of hikes, but really it's that accompanying language that goes with it. So it's at 1:30. That's when the press conference starts. So I would advise you to have a watch of the press conference and listen into that Q&A, because when he starts being asked questions by reporters, sometimes he can answer a question in a certain way, and that can really get the markets moving. What we're looking for is for Powell to be most likely maintaining his sort of hawkishly dovish stance. Should I say a dovishly hawkish stance, which means that he still needs to send the message out to the market that if needs be, they will carry on hiking interest rates. But at the same time, he may well, that the dovish element of that may well be he uses the language that we'll continue to monitor this in a wait and see fashion. Okay, so that's the type of language that we're going to be expecting there tonight. If there's deviations away from that language, i.e. is a bit more hawkish towards a September hike, then that could see the euro-dollar sell-off here this evening, and of course other currencies against the dollar. If he seems more likely to be talking, he's not going to say it, but alluding to a pause in September, then and then playing a wait and see attitude, then we could actually see some more upside here in the likes of the euro dollar as well. So that's the general rub of what we would expect. Now let's actually have a look at the volatility that we've seen in previous FOMCs. So the last one that we had was in June 14th. So if I go to the 14th of June, it was this candle here. So again, sometimes we have these highly anticipated events, and they're not always accompanied by huge volatility. There would have been volatility intraday during that day, but as you can see, the real volatility and range came the following day, not necessarily so much on FOMC. The one prior to that was on the 3rd of May. So let's go to the 3rd of May, which is this date, this bar here, a decent up bar there, but again, so a decent range, but relative to the prior week or so, it's nothing that special relative to the prior week or so's worth of trading. So, and if we now go back just a little bit further to the March 22nd meeting, now that one was much bigger. So yep, plenty of volatility on that day. That one stands out. And then going back to the beginning of the year, February 1st, so we had again another big decent range there, that big green bar there, on February 1st. So my point is, not every day when we have FOMC is accompanied by a huge range day. It does see, we pretty much always will see intraday volatility, but it doesn't always accompany a big range. The euro, for example, using it as a proxy at the moment, isn't on a big range so far today. I would expect the range to increase. It's just a case of then now how the euro and the other currencies end up going about their business of how they hold on or not onto any gains, or do they give them all back based on his language tonight. So it's all about the language. Is there a hawkish nod, or is it a slightly more dovish nod? And then we get a bit of a hint as to where prices may want to go thereafter. But we do have, of course, ECB tomorrow, and we have Bank of Japan Friday, and also some inflation figures again out of the US Friday afternoon with those PCEs. So there's a lot of news coming through, and we're at the end of, closing in on the end of month. So it's quite an interesting position at the moment coming into end of month, as well as all of this news following tonight's price action. But for now, do expect volatility, and look out for some of that language. Might give you a clue as to where we may be going.